The world set this big goal to stop the rise of obesity by 2025. Well, not only are we going to miss that target, we are actually speeding up in the complete opposite direction. This is a massive global health crisis that's only getting worse, and it's time we really dug into why.
And look, that's not just my opinion. That is a direct, very blunt assessment from the World Health Organization. This single sentence says it all. It's a universal failure. It's like a global report card came out, and on this subject, every single country is failing. And that failure, it has some absolutely staggering consequences. If we keep on this path, by 2035, 1 out of every 5 adults on the entire planet will be living with obesity. And we're not talking about some distant future here. That's just a little over a decade from now. Okay, so we've established this is a huge, worldwide issue. But here's the thing. The burden of this crisis isn't being shared equally. When you look at the data, a really troubling pattern starts to emerge, showing exactly where this epidemic is picking up the most speed. This is where the whole story kind of flips a common misconception on its head. We often think of obesity as a problem for wealthy nations, right? But the fastest, most dramatic increases are actually happening in low and middle income countries. These are the very places with the fewest resources to deal with the consequences. It's really a perfect storm of rapid urbanization, a shift away from traditional diets, and, of course, limited healthcare. So this brings us to the million-dollar question. Why? Why, with all of our technology and medical knowledge, are we failing so badly? Well, the reasons are incredibly complex and all tangled up with each other. There isn't just one single villain we can point to here. We're dealing with this complicated web of social inequality, healthcare systems stretched to their breaking point, massive lifestyle shifts, and a real lack of political action. And while all of those are super important, the source material points to one driver that's really acting like the engine for this whole crisis: a fundamental change in what we eat. I'm talking about ultra-processed foods, or UPFs. And let me be clear, these aren't just foods with a couple of extra ingredients. No, these are industrial formulations. They have been scientifically engineered to be so delicious, so irresistible, the term is hyper-palatable, that they actually hack our body's natural "I'm full" signals. So how exactly do they pull that off? Well, it starts with a ton of sugar, which basically hijacks the reward system in your brain, creating cravings that feel a lot like an addiction. Then they add excessive salt and fat to make every bite so flavorful that you just want to keep eating. And finally, chemical additives are used to get the texture and taste just right. The result is pretty simple and pretty devastating. We end up eating way more calories a lot of the time without even realizing it. Now, this epidemic of UPFs and all these other factors, it comes with a staggering cost. And I'm not just talking about our health. It is a massive drain on the entire global economy. Honestly, the numbers are almost hard to wrap your head around. Almost $1 trillion US. Just let that sink in for a moment. That's the estimated cost every single year just for treating health issues related to high BMI. It's an enormous economic burden that affects every country's ability to provide care for everything else. And to put that trillion-dollar figure into perspective, it makes up 13% of all healthcare spending on the entire planet. Think about that. For every dollar spent on health anywhere in the world, 13 cents are going directly to treat the consequences of high BMI. That is completely unsustainable. But beyond the money, there's the profound human cost. High BMI is a primary driver of the diseases so many of us fear the most: type 2 diabetes, heart attacks, strokes, even multiple types of cancer. And the toll isn't just physical, it's also deeply connected to mental health struggles like depression and anxiety. Okay, so the situation is dire, I get it, but it is not hopeless. Understanding the problem is always the first step. So now let's talk about how we can actually build a path forward. The source material lays out a really clear, multifaceted approach. What's really clear is that the responsibility doesn't just fall on one group. This has to be a two-front battle. On one side, we need big, systemic actions. We're talking about governments regulating the food industry and investing in prevention. But at the same time, we need individual actions, things like focusing on whole foods, staying active, and even advocating for those bigger policy changes. The truth is, neither side can succeed without the other. And that really brings us to the core message here. This is not about blaming individuals or just sitting around waiting for governments to solve everything. The only way we're going to reverse this trend is through collective action. It's going to take a united front from policymakers, from community leaders, and from every single one of us.
So that leaves us with a pretty critical question to think about. In this incredibly complex web of politics, economics, and personal choice, where does the most impactful change actually begin? Is it with governments, or does it start with us? That's the question to carry away from all this.